Hi, this is Elizabeth Galentine, Associate Editor with Employee Benefit Advisor. Today we talked with Bill Sweetnam of Groom Law Group about what's going on with Congress and healthcare reform. First up, we asked Bill about Arlen Specter's switch to the Democratic Party and where he's been standing on healthcare reform in the past.
You know, Specter's profile on healthcare is not on the employer base side. His is more on clinics and research. And he's really been a very strong advocate for increased medical research. You'll see more of that. Whether that sort of gets tied up into an overall health care reform bill, I'm not sure. But that's something that he has always been for. He's always been for more spending for medical research. Remember, this is a guy that's had some severe health problems himself, and he's come back from them. So that's what he's for.
Next up, we asked Bill about all the healthcare reform bills that are floating in the Congress right now. Normally, people might ignore these because they don't likely get passed, but he says that actually they could be part of the insider's game as far as getting people to vote for legislation coming up. If someone's resisting, then they could say, hey, we'll throw your bill in there and get you to vote for it. So he says to pay attention to everything that's going on.
I think that all of these bills employers should be looking at because you never know when they're trying to put together and draw together votes, what gets picked up at the last minute in order to, we want Senator Lincoln's vote. Well, Senator Lincoln has just put out a bill for small business. I think it's tax credits for small business people, small businesses for providing health insurance. Maybe the chairman may be thinking, I might be able to get her vote if I put her bill into the mix here. So people ought to be looking at that. And in fact, a lot of lobbyists are right now going around going to various members with healthcare related proposals, saying, you ought to introduce this and let's see whether it gets pulled into the mix. That's one of the fun things about watching legislation be made.
Next up, a lot of groups out there are saying they'd rather be rid of healthcare and not have to pay the costs anymore. But Bill shares why some employers, actually most employers, are saying, no, I'd rather keep control of that.
Well, I think one of the things is that you have to realize that if the end result of health reform is still that employers have to make sizable financial commitments towards their employees' health care, they kind of like to be in the driver's seat in how that money is spent. And having a public plan means that they have less impact over that plan than they would with going with an insurer, because they can really work with the insurer to sort of put together what they think is important for their particular business, their particular employees. It's interesting. One of the things that employers have always been concerned about is the fact that the health insurance is getting so expensive, and what they look for is if we can get more people into the system, that will drop the premiums because you've taken care of some of the uninsured. But the flip side of that, which they don't like, is having a mandate on them that they have to provide a certain amount of health coverage. I think employers, it's interesting. The employer community is really in a different place than the health insurers, and the health insurers, they clearly don't want a public plan because they figure that there's a public plan, they're going to long term be going out of business.
Next up, Bill talks about how some constituencies are really scared of the public plan option. Carriers are actually ready to propose more regulation for themselves.
That they realize that they have a big public relations problem, in that everybody thinks, as you said, nobody defends the insurance companies, and that they have to sort of step up to the plate on that, and that's one way that's one way to do it, is to just say, we'll take a lot of regulation.
Bipartisanship has been a myth in Washington, but Bill says that the dream will stay alive with Senators Grassley and Baucus bringing it in with health care reform.
Yeah, yes, because having been a staffer on the Senate Finance Committee years ago, that has always been a famously bipartisan committee, and they've always tried to work together. And so I would think that they would probably try to work together again this year, and and that's going to be incredibly different than in the House, which as we said earlier, it's going to be that's something where the Democrats can pretty much decide what they want to pass and then pass